Welcome to 1991 Movie Rewind, a podcast where we watch and review every movie released in 1991, from the all-time greatest classics to the critically panned and everything in between. We will rediscover forgotten fan favorites and uncover hidden gems as we explore the depths of direct-to-video. Join us in our celebration of the fun, unique, and diverse films of this highly underrated year. This week, we watched Earth Angel. Earth Angel starts in 1962. Angela, played by Cathy Podewell, is the most popular girl in high school. After telling her jock boyfriend that she's falling for her nerdy tutor, they get into an argument while driving that crashes the car and kills Angela right before prom. Flash forward 28 years later, and Angela finds herself back in the real world as a ghost who is only visible to her best friend's daughter. To get to heaven, she needs to accomplish her mission. If only she could figure out what that mission is. Screenplay by Nina Shengold, directed by Joe Napolitano, and premiered on ABC on March 4th, 1991. Have you seen Earth Angel before?
No, I haven't. But I got this... Well, when you said the title last week, I knew nothing about this movie, but I thought it was gonna be that Bruce Willis, Kim Basinger movie. But that's Blind Date.
Doesn't even share a word.
I know. I just, for some reason that popped in my head and I don't even know why.
Is that why you agreed to watch this for the
podcast?
Without doing any research on it at all?
Yeah.
So, considering it's not... I mean, there are some big names in this.
Yeah.
But... Not Bruce Willis and...
Kim
Basinger. At least not at the time big. So what did you think, considering it was completely different from what you expected?
I mean, it was fine. It's very corny.
I thought it was not as cheesy as it could have been. But yeah, I mean, the general premise, yes.
Yeah, the thing that really, threw me off were the older actors playing teenagers.
Yes. And it's really... What's weird is that only 3 of them are necessary to be older, because those are the only 3 that show up in the later day, but...
It's like they couldn't find younger actors to play them as young, 18-year-olds.
Yeah, I mean, okay, this is a TV movie, so
I know.
They don't have a huge budget.
I know, it was just it made me crack up to see them like 40-year-olds playing 18. It was just very 90210, I guess.
Yeah, except, a little bit more exaggerated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's... I don't know if that would be better or not, because, I mean, I guess it would be just in terms of optics, but in terms of being able to recognize who was who in any given moment,
yeah, it
would be a little bit tougher. So there's a balance there. But when you have, a couple of the bullies that are hanging out with the jock, played by Eric Estrada here, why do they need to also be 40? I'm assuming they look like they were also 40-something years old when they were shooting that. I mean, I didn't check the
The
ages.
only person that's not 40 is the lead actress.
Yeah, Angela.
She was in her 20s, early 20s, I think.
Although she does
Angela.
kind of look older than she is in this. But maybe that's just because of that whole mental thing that we talked about before, where,
Yeah, we think that people in their 20s were...
Yeah, just people aged differently back then. Or,
know.
it's tougher to interpret when you are younger than the person that you're seeing on the screen. You automatically associate them as being older than they really are. So yeah, Angela's the only one that is actually relatively closer to high school age, at least in the opening 1962 segment. But a couple of those characters don't come back, and so I don't know if it's just to make it less awkward for, Cindy Williams and whoever else to be hanging out with like actual teenagers on their arm.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I don't know.
I mean, so I know the actor that played Cindy Williams' boyfriend, Val. Well, husband too.
Yeah,
but they don't show him.
Yeah.
But they don't show him when he's older. She just mentions, Val.
Right.
Like, I think he was young. He was younger.
Was he younger?
I believe so. Because I remember him in Back to the Beach.
He didn't
in the 80s. But he was probably young. He was younger than them. Like, he was not 40. I know that.
But yeah, not,
I mean, he
not
was
18 years
Yeah,
old.
he wasn't
he's
18.
Not close to high school age.
But he was definitely not 40.
Maybe in like 30s or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was Tommy Hinckley played Val. We'll see him a couple more times. 1991.
He was probably 30, but
Could
still.
Be. Yeah. We can, if we remember, we can do research when we see him in LA Story or The Human Shield. He's also in Watchers 2, which has a connection to the video store scene where they have like a big Watchers 2 poster in the thing, which sounds like a really cool movie. Honestly, I was like, I don't really know much about the Watchers franchise, but like the tagline for Watchers 2 is a genetically re-engineered dog develops a psychic link with a monster created in a lab experiment which goes awry. Like, I want to see that movie. Too bad it's not 1991. And so yeah, and then you have a couple other random people, and they just do the typical bully stuff that you see in pretty much every single high school movie, especially ones that are set in that era, like the Back to the Future, whatever. Yeah, just who wants to know? I'm like just
like popping the other thing that really kind of got to me was the chewing of the gum, like incessant popping noise.
Oh yeah, you are much more in tune to that. I didn't notice it at all.
Oh, like so. That's probably just me because I don't like chewing type sounds. Yeah. Just hearing that was bothersome.
So everyone's chewing gum in the 60s.
Yeah, but the exaggerated like the cow type chewing of a gum. It's not like how, I don't know, chewing gum with your mouth open.
I think that's supposed to indicate like ditziness to a degree. I think it's supposed to be sort of a stereotype of,
being like that
airheaded,
like blonde airheaded, kind of valley girl thing.
Possibly, yeah, because Cathy Podewell really leans into
the
ditziness, and it doesn't really work very well for her. I don't know. It was like too over the top. It was too exaggerated at times.
But I think all of them were too exaggerated.
In the 60s era, yeah.
Yeah, when they were playing teenagers, they were all
yes, definitely
over the top.
I think the only one that we could say maybe was Cindy Williams as Judith, because, well, in the high school part, she didn't really have any role aside from being like a best friend and
she wasn't really a
here and there
bully. She was just
there. She was just part of the crew.
Like Angela's best friend, but
yeah,
she wasn't really mean. Well, I mean, okay, so everyone's picking on Wayne, who's Mark Hamill. Mm-hmm. Is he like he's the only nerd in that entire school? Because everyone's picking on him.
I guess so. I don't know. But yeah, Wayne is also very extremely over exaggerated in the 1962 segments where he's just really
it's
over
like
the top
very,
body language, and
it's very like, Back to the Future, like George McFly.
Yeah, Crispin Glover type of
yes
behavior, but not eccentricness.
Yeah, just like kind of tripping over things, and I don't know, wearing glasses obviously, and like
just very very exaggerated body posture.
Yeah,
always looking down at everything, and
like if you
voice
it's like the typical, I don't know, quote ugly person. It's like they're wearing glasses and their hair is a certain way, but if they just took their glasses off and like brushed their hair back, they would be quote hot or so. That's kind of like, even though that doesn't even happen at all, because it seems Angela accepts him as who he is.
Right. which I like. Yeah, but obviously it doesn't go anywhere because of the way the story goes.
Yeah.
Between those two.
But she's not like a superficial girl. Like how you see.
She is until she isn't.
I think when it comes to
totally
being popular, she wants to be
yes.
popular, but
yes, and even
she's
when
being tutored by him, but she's not mean. She's mean to him, or when she's around her boyfriend. Well, not exactly mean. She's just like, I don't know who he is. That's all.
She's sort of like mean and dismissive, even when the tutoring starts, but then. After he shows a little bit of like goofiness, and then also when she comes in and like hears him playing the saxophone for the first time,
she's like, oh,
that's when
cool.
She's like, oh, this guy actually has something to him, possibly. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, she's vapid until she isn't, and then even in the 1990 portion of it in the future, when she's helping, Judith's daughter, Cindy, which is going to be confusing because Cindy Williams plays Judith, but the daughter's name in the movie is Cindy, played by Rainbow Harvest. She does the exact same stuff. It's like, oh yeah, ignore this guy who may be sweet and nice and go for the jock guy. I'm going to help you do that as much as possible.
I think because Cindy had a crush on him, and Angela was like, oh, she thinks her mission is just to help Cindy get a boyfriend. And she knows that Cindy likes this guy, so she's like, okay, I'll help you get this guy.
Yeah, I think
that
the problem
you
is...
have a crush on. Because she's supposed to be kind of, still this airheady...
Right, that's my point. Like, she's still... very much airheady and obtuse because she's not using her own life lessons to understand what Cindy should really be going after, and that this person is a terrible choice, and and I know that's part of the movie, is that Angela's supposed to have this arc as well where she grows as a person even though she's already dead, because that growth will allow her to have her own personal heaven, which is having an evening with James Dean.
Yeah. I don't know. It's funny and cute, but it's also kind of corny to me. She's like, you don't understand. I'm going to go to heaven and I'm going to be with James Dean. And, Cindy's like, I don't even know who that is.
Right. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
It's not my problem. I'm alive
care.
And I have problems here. And then, there's like a time component to it as well, because if she doesn't do this in time, then she will go to her own personal hell, which is being in detention forever with her old teacher, Mr. Tatum, played by Roddy McDowall. And so, like, everything has to be done by prom, basically like the anniversary of her death, which is weird that they chose the 28th anniversary of her death.
Yeah, I was like, why, I don't know, why didn't she appear 10 years later or whatever, 15 years, like, why did it was just to help her best friend's child?
That was what Angela thought, right? But it's really more about Wayne and Judith.
Finding love.
And so, really, it's like redeeming Wayne over anything.
So
and Judith is just
that was also the
methodology
year
to make that happen.
Yeah, well, that's also the year that Judith moves back to where was it, like LA? How many know
I guess
exactly?
So. Yeah, they really don't.
They don't say exactly where they're from.
They're at Ryder High, which I saw on the bus at the very beginning.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't know.
But she moves, like she after high school, I guess she marries Val, and they move to Wisconsin, and then they get a divorce, and she moves back to, I'm assuming LA area, I don't know, California maybe, to where she originally was from with her daughter Cindy.
And moving in with her dad, Cindy's grandfather.
Yeah.
That's what it seems like.
And then this is Cindy's last year, so she pretty much spends her last semester as a senior
last few weeks as a senior.
I was like, I mean, in the beginning, Cindy was like, why couldn't you just wait until I graduated
Right.
for us to move back?
And they don't really explain it. So,
right.
And probably because maybe TV movie. I don't know. They want.
Yeah,
they don't want
but I was like, okay.
Particulars of a divorce, but yeah.
It just really sucks for Cindy to go to a new school as a senior at the very end of school.
Mm-hmm.
And being the new girl. And I don't know, all that stuff. That's. I mean, it's a lot. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. And she gets picked on as well. She's treated as something of the nerd, which I don't really understand. But
I think because she...
Just because she's new?
I think it started because she was dropped off by her mom, and her mom was driving her truck, I guess, from Wisconsin, and it's like a sheep farm thing. And these other students saw her mom dropping her off with a sheep on the side of the car, and they saw that and they went bah.
Yeah, they started buying at her
and instantly started making fun of her just because of that.
But I mean, but she's treated like the uber nerd by the entire school.
I think because
which doesn't seem appropriate for what she...
the only person that was nice to her was Peter, who is the nerd of the school.
Yeah.
So they were like, "Oh, you talked to him for 2 seconds, so you're automatically a nerd."
I don't even remember them talking until they see each other at the mall. There's a lot of things. Okay, honestly, I think overall, I think the plot is structured well enough in that, the plot points connect to each other, right? So, you have the mom needs work, and so she has to get an application, and she ends up, working at the place where Wayne plays his saxophone, and that happens because of this thing. All of, the dominoes that fall into place, I think were set up pretty well.
When Wayne was in high school, he said he had all these plans, he wanted to join the Peace Corps and do all the travel around the world, but I guess after her death, he just became, uber depressed, and now he's a history teacher at the high school that he graduated from.
Correct. Yeah. Go back to my point real quick.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
But I thought, because, yeah.
So, all the dominoes, the plot are set up okay, but, the establishing why the dominoes are there in the first place is not always explained. You're saying that Peter talked to them or was possibly nice to Cindy. I don't remember that happening. I remember them having a really brief interaction at the pet store in the mall, about halfway through the movie, and then all of a sudden he's the history tutor, and it didn't seem like they had any really establishing information about why they are... how they know each other. Are they in the same history class?
Yeah.
I didn't notice that at all.
She, the first time that they show her in history class, Wayne, who's the teacher, is handing... they had to do some homework. I don't even know.
It was a pop quiz.
Yeah.
It was so quick.
But he was like, let me... She's like, I'm new. And he's like, well, let me see how you know shit, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, but I remember the jocks talking about Flunkenstein, which is the
they
give
but
him.
Then he grades the papers. I think the next day he grades the papers and he's handing them out to everyone. He's
right.
F minus, and he gives his to Peter and he's A minus.
Okay.
And he's very well done.
I didn't notice that it was Peter because I don't remember seeing the students in that shot. It was shot so high up and all the students were at the very bottom of the frame.
I thought it was Peter. I mean, now...
It probably was. But
I thought...
I think part of my problem is they didn't have any conversations in class.
No,
there's no conversations in the hallway prior to them becoming tutor and student.
She just saw him, and then when she saw that he got that A minus in class, and then she's... I mean...
I just wish there was more establishing.
Okay, because I don't even...
debate about it, even.
Well, because I don't... He didn't get... Because this is when Angela is, standing next to her, as the ghost. And she doesn't see that it's Wayne, so she's like, this guy is a total tool or whatever.
Right.
And that's when she throws a spitball at him.
That was like another scene, yeah.
I thought
that's what led to her needing a tutor.
Yeah, yes. That's what led to her, because he was like, you were automatically suspended. So he didn't even give her her paper or her quiz back to see like how well she did.
Yeah, I don't remember.
He didn't, because he was just like going up and down the aisles telling everyone F-, which I thought was funny.
But yeah, there needed to be a little bit more.
I think she knew that Peter got the A-, and that when she ran into him at the mall, she was like, "Oh, hey, I need a tutor. Can you be my tutor?"
Yeah. I mean, again, it's one of these things where I think you're probably right, but the movie they didn't piece it together well enough for me.
Okay.
You know, like, there should have been a conversation between them.
Really was.
That was their first conversation, was basically
that really was. I think he was
hey,
nice.
You need to be my tutor. Like, okay.
I think in the very beginning he was just kind of nice to her. Like, they didn't really talk or anything.
That's what I'm saying. Like, nice to her was just not being a bully and like sitting quiet. Like, that's not enough for me.
I understand you, but then I understand what you're saying. But I don't know, it's like this typical high school thing where it's like, if you're new, then you're automatically like bullied.
I guess.
In the movie, I don't know, in movies.
Yeah, it's a lot of it's movie logic. I mean, honestly, I had a lot more trouble with that type of stuff and not the ghost stuff. I had virtually no problem with the ghost stuff at all.
Yeah.
You know, it's basically what you would expect to see. I think the only thing that maybe is weird is, you know, she made a big point of how she can't touch people.
Right, but she can touch
and then
objects.
She started to be able
what
to
is
touch
this
people.
Ghost? Yeah.
Like, you know, because when she was trying to get Mike's attention, Mike is, you know, the jock guy that Cindy wants.
Yeah, she taps on his shoulder.
Yeah, like grabs his like
him.
drawstrings on his hoodie or whatever, or his jacket or whatever.
Well,
and,
she's touching his jacket, not him.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's still touching. I don't know. Like, but yeah, that's like a small little thing. I'm honestly pretty happy with how they did the ghost stuff, and that they didn't go so far in the direction of something like Ghost.
Yeah.
Where, you know,
Judith
recognizes Angela by her actions as a ghost or something like that, or that they tried to speak to each other through like
someone like
a pencil on a paper moving by itself and saying,
yeah,
it's Angela.
Like,
or
Judith
something.
never even. Judith doesn't even know that like Angela is there as a ghost to help Cindy, like, at all.
No, there's a part where there's like a little bit of a fake out, and we should probably explain how Angela even comes back into the real world. It's through Angela's car. Mm-hmm. So Angela's car was wrecked in the crash that killed her, and then when they move into town, Cindy's grandfather takes her car shopping, can't find anything, and then they go to the junkyard because their freezer broke. And so they had to like junk the freezer. And while they were there, she saw this 50s car that she really wanted. And it happened to be Angela's car. Got restored by Garrett Morris with a nice little cameo performance. Really fun, small part by him. You know, once the car was up and running again, Angela appears basically in the back seat.
Yeah.
So that's how she appears. And so Cindy brings the car home, and Judith greets her at the door. The filmmaking makes it seem like, oh, Judith recognizes Angela and is freaking out. It's like, oh my god, I can't believe it. And then, really, she's just saying, I can't believe it. This looks exactly like my friend's car.
Yeah, and then Angela thinks that Judith is speaking to her.
Yeah, and they pass through each other.
Yeah, they pass through each other. And that's when Cindy's like, oh, you can't see her? I mean, there were certain parts where Angela did things as a ghost. Like, mostly just Cindy talking to herself, and people are like, huh, what's wrong with her?
Yeah.
And
that probably more led to her being considered like the weirdo girl.
Yeah.
But they don't show a whole lot of people noticing that in the school setting. It's more like in the mall or outside of other places. So I could understand her being an outcast if people think, oh, she's weird, she talks to herself.
Yeah.
But that's not really shown in the school side as much.
And like the part where she starts hanging out with like the popular people and they're like eating fries and like onion rings. There's a point where Angela picks up an onion ring and one of the guys sees the onion ring like kind of floating near Cindy's face and he's like, whoa, I'm on too many stimulants or something. But that was the only that was kind of it, where you see someone on the other side not seeing Angela.
Yeah, there's not much of it. It's mostly we as an audience know that she's a ghost, and that's,
but we don't see
the
doing
special effects.
Yeah, we don't see like the movie ghost type when she's like moving papers. You don't see the papers moving on their own. You actively see her like throwing things down or like turning blenders on and whatever, or like starting a fire in a stove.
And
we don't see
she
that.
was so happy just staring at the flames too.
Right. Like we don't see those happening on its own.
Right. So I mean,
except for that
it's a nice
onion
workaround.
Ring thing.
It's a nice workaround. I have to worry about too many special effects shots if you just establish that she's a ghost, and if the actors act as if she's not there, then fine. And for the most part, that's okay. But yeah, her role is to sabotage when necessary. Even though theoretically she's supposed to be getting people together, she has to sabotage a lot of other people to make that happen. Yeah. So, I think, especially in terms of Duke, who comes back into the picture, again, played by Eric Estrada here. We got him as the delivery person for the freezer, the brand new freezer that comes in. And so that's when he gets reconnected with Judith, and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it's you. And then, they wants to go out with her, and he's a creepy guy. Yeah. Almost immediately. Really goofy in that first interaction in the house. But then, once he's alone, he's just a complete womanizer and aggressive and not good. Yeah. And so, thankfully, Angela's there to kind of like help, prevent things from going too far. Yeah,
Angela's there to help her friend, but also her friend's daughter. Like, she's going kind of back and forth, following each woman, I guess.
Yeah, I think at that point she had an idea that maybe her mission wasn't Cindy. Oh, she might have actually been told, right? So there's a couple of not interstitials, but, sort of like chapter breaks in a way, where she goes back up into purgatory. Yeah. And she's meeting with Mr. Tatum, who is, I don't know if he was a teacher or a principal at the school when she was there. But
he
she
was like a
going
guidance
to flunk
counselor.
him. Or she was going to flunk her. He was going to flunk her.
I thought he was like a guidance counselor, but I don't...
I mean, that's what she says at one point. It's like, you're supposed to be my guidance counselor.
Yeah, but is that in purgatory?
I think so.
Okay.
Because she was specifically told that he was going to flunk her, and that's why she needed the tutor. So I don't know if...
it was Wayne at the time.
But anyway, he gives her advice, and basically, but very cryptic advice. She's supposed to basically figure these things out on her own, and he told her that Cindy is not your mission.
Right.
But didn't really give any more details than that.
So he was like, she was like, okay, then I guess Judith is my mission.
Yeah, I think that was originally her idea.
But it was probably Wayne and Judith as her mission.
I'm of the impression that Wayne was probably more the actual mission, and Judith was just the best option for Wayne. Yeah. So the whole thing with Wayne is that, she was going to go to prom with Duke. But
that's her boyfriend. But I think the day of
basically
their
the
prom,
day of, Wayne asks her to prom, and they start to fall for each other. And so he was going to meet her there at prom. And on the way to prom is basically when Angela told Duke, this isn't going to happen between us. I'm actually going to be with somebody else or whatever. They
Yeah,
don't
it's
show
like-
that part of the conversation. They
No.
show it like mid-argument.
Yeah.
But it's
like
about
he's
him.
forcing her. That's why I was like, okay, I don't understand the guys driving the girl's car. Because that's her car.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why even get in the car with him to begin with if you know you're not going to prom with him.
That's why I was like, that's your car. You could have just not picked him up.
Right.
Or told him to not get in the car because that's your car.
Yeah, exactly. He could have just not been going.
Yeah.
So
I was like,
unless like the whole prom king, prom queen thing was already established and they had to make an appearance.
I don't unless she was like, we can go together,
but I'm
not gonna, like, we can arrive at the same time, but I'm not going to be with you. I'm meeting up with Wayne.
Yeah, something like that.
But we don't see that conversation. We just see them mid-fighting.
We just see them mid-fighting, and we know that Duke knows about Wayne because he's, yelling about the nerd.
Yeah.
And then they, they crash into the tree or whatever, and
well, it's like a rainstorm. And yeah, they're fighting, but he's not really paying attention because Duke's not paying attention because he's, fighting with Angela and he's kind of driving erratically. And then like another car sort of comes by and they try to avoid it, but then they hit.
Yeah, they miss the car, but then crash into a tree by missing the car.
Yeah. And this is funny too. So, I mean, she dies immediately, I guess. And then he comes to the prom with a bloody shirt.
Yeah.
And he explaining, like, because Wayne's there waiting and everyone's, like, kind of making fun of him. They're like, why are you here? And he's like, actually, I'm going to meet Angela. And then they're making fun of, like, oh, you think you're going to be with Angela? Blah, whatever. And then Duke arrives with a bloody shirt. I'm like, this dude just, like, walked away from...
he's like, they wanted to take me in for x-rays.
But he was like, no, I need to go to prom.
Yeah, basically.
And that's so stupid.
And so, yeah, like, he announces that Angela's dead to everyone. And like, Wayne is... like livid. He's like, what did you do to her? Type of thing. It's all your fault. And so Duke punches him out.
Yeah.
And, the corsage drops, and then Angela picks it up in the the people-less gym.
Yeah.
Still decorated for prom, and that's when she finds out that she is dead.
But it's like 28. She's been in purgatory for 28 years, and then she just finally realizes it.
Well, I mean, who knows how time passes in purgatory?
Yeah,
it's tough to say. So, like, Mr. Tatum comes in there. He's like, "Well, you died,
10 years
before me.
Did. Yeah.
So it's weird that you don't even know the rules yet. So, like, something weird happened to her in the meantime, but we don't know what or why.
Yeah, we don't know.
So Mr. Tatum has to be her guide to the afterlife.
But he knows.
Yeah. And
like,
he died at a costume party from a heart attack, and evidently you have to wear what you
you
were wearing
when
you died.
Yeah. She's just dressed in her prom dress.
Yeah,
the entire time.
That's her entire outfit. Except for the very beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, Mr. Tatum is there
as her guide
and tells her at some point, like
Like,
you need
did
to do your mission. And at some point,
But
she snapped back to the purgatory and says, Cindy is not your mission.
So, okay, so is he in purgatory as well? Like, does he have a mission? Like, I was like, is he in charge of purgatory? Like, what is his deal?
Well, I mean, I guess there's a couple ways you can think about it. My personal thought is that she's told that heaven is individualized and that hell is individualized, right? So it kind of also makes sense that purgatory is individualized and that Mr. Tatum could be in two places in once. Maybe he's accomplished his goal and he is in his own personal heaven, and yet he still appears in Angela's version of purgatory because that's how her mind works.
Yeah, but wouldn't his hell be having to, like, guide her? Because he obviously doesn't like her.
He made it sound like his personal heaven was giving her detention forever. So who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. thought that was interesting. I don't know.
Yeah.
I was like, why is he there? To tell her that she has a mission.
So, yeah, I sort of got off track about the whole thing.
This is like The Good Place type of thing.
Which I have not seen yet. But, so, yeah, the reason I think that Wayne is the mission is because he is extremely jilted. The next time we see him is when he's a teacher at the high school now. And everyone's talking about him as being Flunkenstein because his last name is Stein. So it's like Wayne Stein, Flunkenstein, right. King of the F's, complete asshole professor. And so he's just, never got over what happened that night. And he's just become bitter and angry and takes it out on the world. And so he's really the one that needs redemption. I don't think Judith does because she has control of her life. She did what she wanted to do. She married Val. When it became a bad decision for her to be married to him, she left.
Yeah.
And, so she's doing everything that she wants to do and, she's making the right decisions in her own life. So I think it's really Wayne that needs the help here, and Judith just happens to be the best way to do that. So he has a little bit of an, I don't know, he's very off-put by everything. When Judith comes to meet Wayne for the first time after Cindy gets in trouble for throwing the spitball or whatever, that she didn't actually do, that was Angela, that's when they realize, oh my gosh, it's you, remember me? And Wayne's like, everyone hated me in high school. Like, go away. Your daughter's your daughter needs some serious help.
But he doesn't even. He's just mad at her for doing the spitball that she didn't do, and then calling him Flunkenstein. He automatically just got mad at her and said, "You're suspended."
Mm-hmm.
Like he doesn't know how she is academically.
No.
But he's like, your daughter needs help.
One test, I guess.
Right, yeah. But I mean, we don't even know how she did.
No, we don't. We know.
But he's like, Judith has to come in for this parent-teacher thing, and he's like, your daughter needs help. She needs a tutor. But he only did this because he was just mad at her.
Yeah.
So what help? She doesn't need help. She just, I don't know. She doesn't need a tutor. She just needs to be on the good side of Wayne now.
Yeah, it's just him going
on a power trip. Which will probably not happen because he just hates her, like automatically just hates her because she did that.
Yeah.
And he'll probably flunk her even though she's like a good student or something.
But
that's what it seems like.
So
like
yeah,
he
again,
just flunks all these students he doesn't like.
It's an instance where the domino is set up properly, in that it will lead to another thing. You need to have that meeting between Wayne and Judith in order to get to the next part of the plot.
Right.
But the setup and lead-ins of why those dominoes were placed are not always there or not always sensical.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just another one of those types of situations here too. But yeah, eventually, we talked about the fire being set, so they Angela sets fire to their food that they were making. The
chicken Marengo.
Chicken Marengo, which we had never heard of before.
Which we had to look up because I've never heard of that. And we found out it's a French dish consisting of chicken sauteed with oil, garlic, and tomato with fried eggs and crayfish. And then I also found out that was Napoleon's favorite dish after... It's named Marengo after the Battle of Marengo, I think. Oh, okay. So they call it chicken Marengo, and that's his favorite dish.
Gotcha. But anyway, Angela ruins that good-sounding food.
She was like, oh, the chicken Marengo. Like, we had to pause and be like, what the hell is a chicken Marengo? Because I was like, is that a made-up thing? But no, it's not.
No. It's just not very common, at least these days.
Yeah, I've never seen it in a restaurant, so I don't know if
we did a search.
It looks like a chicken cacciatore to me, but you just add eggs and crayfish.
Or shrimp, or whatever, yeah.
Yeah.
And then no one's doing it, so get on it.
Right. Like, come on, Italian.
Yeah.
Italian restaurant. Come on.
Like 30,000 Italian restaurants in the city. Let's do it.
How come Olive Garden doesn't do a chicken Marengo?
Right.
All right.
Anyway, she ruins the chicken Marengo because that will force them to eat out at the club that Wayne is playing at. Unfortunately, there's no band that night.
Right.
But that allows Judith to get an application there, and then they meet afterwards again. It's like, oh, hey, I work here now, and oh, you're doing the sax thing. That's cool. And then that allows them to kind of like...
Yeah, but he's kind of just very dismissive and like, oh,
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
And...
I mean, he has a hard shell to crack.
Right, and then Angela kind of delays Judith in a way by like dropping her tip money or something. And then while Judith is picking up her money, that's when Wayne comes on stage and starts playing the sax. And then all of a sudden she's like, whoa, he plays the sax.
Right. Yeah, evidently that's the key to a woman's heart.
Right. I was like, oh, all of a sudden she kind of likes him now, maybe?
Yeah. So yeah, she has to go through the Duke stuff, and then that gets, sabotaged appropriately. She pops Duke's tires at certain points, and gives like a hooker his number.
Yeah.
And, like he leads over. And...
the thing where Wayne realizes that he likes Judith was very confusing to me too.
That was the closest the movie came to like a ghost type of interaction. Talking about the 1990 movie where.
Right.
Angela's like trying to whisper and like, tell Wayne like, look, you should like Judith, like, don't like remember, like, do this thing. And it's like sort of like repeating some of the stuff that she said when she was alive in high school.
Yeah, telling
she's
him
the only
like
person
you're a
in the
good
world,
guy.
just like do this. Then
like go for it and blah. Yeah, trying to like psych him up. And
that's happening while he's alone at home. And
he's staring in a mirror, like all
like
mad
practicing his sax or something.
No, I thought he was just staring at himself, looking angry, and then all of a sudden. Oh yeah, I guess he was playing a sax, but he was looking in a mirror while doing it, and I was like, "This is odd."
I don't know if it's
like,
just
why...
to show that there was no reflection of Angela in the mirror.
Maybe.
I don't know.
It was just the way he was looking at himself in the mirror was funny.
Yeah, it was like a pitch black reflection aside from his face.
And he starts crying, and he's like, Judith, it's been Judith all along type of thing. And I'm like, but what?
Yeah, it's like I said, it's one of those things where this is where the ghost comes into play, and her talking to him got through to him on some sort of like a psychic level,
right?
And penetrated his
thoughts of Judith.
Yeah, broke down his wall a little bit.
So then,
and so yeah,
like
then
the
he
next
wants to go
day,
after her, and then Duke and whatever tries to apologize.
Yeah, he bumps into Judith, but Judith is like, oh, but I have he asked her out, and she's like, oh, but I have a date, and that's when Angela tries to stall Duke by doing all that stuff that you said before.
So there's all kinds of stuff going on. There's two different love stories, because we also have the whole Peter and Cindy thing that's going on at the same time. And that's more Peter's unrequited feelings for Cindy, because Cindy has eyes for Mike and Mike alone, even though it's established early on that he's just a total asshole, and he's the guy who's like parking in handicap spots at the school parking lot, and that was her first vision of him, and she's like, oh my god, I love him.
Like, he's an asshole from the get-go. You see him just automatically park this car in the handicap spot. And then he goes up to his girlfriend at the time, like, kind of squeezes her butt and kisses her, and she's like, oh my god, I'm in love with that guy. Like, but...
There's no one else for me.
Like, if you saw someone doing that, wouldn't it be like,
Yeah. But yeah, Peter's there.
But she has this crush on him, even though, like, he's a total dick immediately, even kind of like to her, because he's part of that popular crowd, and you have all those cheerleaders, sort of like, just not being nice to her, because they're doing that whole bah thing.
Yeah, which is, very tame in the realm of bullying, but,
Right. They bully Peter more.
So, but yeah, eventually, like I said, the whole thing with the pet store happens. They're tutoring her on... He's tutoring her on a bridge outside while they eat Chinese food. Remember that? Like, that was like the first tutoring session.
I thought they were in his place.
Was that the first one, and then the bridge was second?
Yeah, the first one... Because when they're eating Chinese, that's when Angela kind of pops in. She's like, Mike's by himself right now. She's like, do you want me to do anything so you can go meet him? And then she's like, just shake your head yes. Instead of saying yes, because Peter's like right there.
Right.
And she just kind of nods, and then she spills that Chinese food on him.
Right.
And
I
then
thought that was the first tutoring session.
That was the first one.
Okay, you just said it wasn't the first one.
Well, no, I didn't. That was the first one.
Yeah.
The first one wasn't on the bridge.
Okay.
I don't know.
You're saying both now.
You said was the first one on the bridge.
The first tutoring session.
Yeah. I thought the first one was the Chinese food.
That was on the bridge.
But then how did he get up and go clean up?
I don't know. But he was on the bridge.
I thought they were in his home.
No, that was on the bridge.
Then
The
how
Chinese
did he go?
food thing happened on the bridge.
Then how did he go and clean up?
I don't know. He dove into the river or whatever. I don't know.
I thought they were in his house.
No, they were outside.
Unless...
They had like this big conversation of like how like, oh, I've never used chopsticks before.
Yeah,
because
I know
like
that,
Wisconsin doesn't have chopsticks.
Unless like the bridge is his backyard and he just goes to his inside and cleans up.
All he says is, I have this perfect place for us to study. And then they go to a bridge at night.
I remember that. Okay, so
And
maybe the
they have
second...
Chinese food, and I didn't even see any, like, maybe there were books. But
So maybe the second time, because I remember the second time they were all... Were they eating Chinese food again?
I don't think
Because I remember the spilling of the Chinese food.
That was definitely the bridge.
Okay.
Absolutely, 100% bridge.
Then...
And if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, then you are seeing the screenshot of them
because
in an outside setting.
Then now I'm confused how he went up and cleaned himself.
Yeah, I don't know either. That kind of confused me too. But all I knew is that, you know, that... Like, also during that conversation, I'm just trying to think, because, like, she also talks about how she misses her friends.
Yeah, in Wisconsin.
Yeah, and how she... Like, you know, I wish I could talk to them for, like, I used to talk to them all the time for advice.
Yeah, but, and
she's like, okay, like, when we were talking to herself, like, she doesn't have a phone in her house? Like, she can't, just talk to her friends from Wisconsin, like, with a phone?
Write a letter or call, yeah.
You know, like, they're not available to help
no one's
at all?
Dead here. It's not, I mean, it's when you move away, it's not like people die. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway.
But she could could have been calling them.
But yeah, she says that I don't know, she tells Angela that she's going to use the excuse that she has an MSG headache to get out of things.
Yeah, which, okay.
And then she goes to the video store because that's where Mike is alone.
Right.
And that's where we see the
video.
ad for Walters 2. They bond
over
with Top Gun.
Yeah.
Whatnot. So...
And then all of a sudden she's like cool because she's hanging out with Mike.
Yeah, she's cool because she's dressing slightly differently, even though I don't think there was anything wrong with the way she was dressing before.
She just like did her hair and put on makeup.
I didn't notice much of a difference at all. So, whatever. It all happens. She's with Mike now. And then she learns that Mike is a total asshole as well. At a certain point, when there's like this whole confrontation because Angela steals a bird from the pet store
that Peter works at.
The bird,
yeah,
though.
that Peter
the bird says "I love you" and says.
Yeah, Peter kind of is teaching this bird to speak by saying "I love you" and Peter, and then he's trying to teach it say Cindy.
So Angela steals that bird, brings it to the front door to make it seem like Peter did it.
Yeah.
Cindy brings it back to the pet store.
And she's like, why did you do this? And he's like, why did you steal my bird?
Yes. And then Mike thought that Peter was, hitting on his girl.
By giving her a bird.
Too much of a, aggressive manner or something, and punches him out.
Yes.
And gives ultimatums and says, you have to meet me by the tuck store in 5 minutes or else. And that's when Cindy is like, I'm done with Mike. Mike is no more to me. And so, yeah, it's sort of like basically being the same story in a different way all over again for both of them. Right,
Right. It's, parallel, because I think that's also the day of her prom, because he's like, I need to go to he's like, meet me at the Tux store in 10 minutes.
Yeah. No, make it 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is, because again, same type of situation where they're going to go to the prom,
and
Mike is driving her
he's
car
driving
in
her,
the rain.
And I was like,
night,
why are
angry
the
driving.
guys driving the girl's car? Like, what the hell is happening in life?
Yeah. I don't know. But the same type of situation happens. They are going to get in an accident until Angela, who is a ghost, takes the wheel at the very last second to avoid that exact same tree.
Right.
Thus saving them both. Mike is told to get out of the car and leave her alone forever.
and this was like funny to me, because they almost die. You know, Angela kind of saves them, and Mike is like, whoa, wasn't that cool? Because they did like a 180, I don't know, whatever.
He's like, I just saved your life.
Yeah, and then he thought he did it, and she's like, no, realizing that Angela did it, but they're still kind of fighting, and she's just like, get out of my car, and he's like, it's raining, and she's like, go get wet.
Yeah.
That kind of made me laugh.
Yeah.
And then he's like, okay, I respect you, and then leaves and gets wet. He's like, okay.
And so yeah, they goes to the prom. Peter is there with Cindy now.
They kiss.
Wayne is there
again.
playing sax in front of the students and gets like some cred with them.
Yeah.
And we get to see Up into the Stars.
Up in the Stars, Angela's dancing
with James
Dean, and
the stars
like Cindy sees that, I guess. I don't know.
Because Angela's no longer in the car as soon as the crash is avoided.
Yeah, the second that she did her mission or whatever,
she's gone.
Yeah, she automatically went to heaven. Now she's dancing with James Dean.
Yeah. For a TV movie, I didn't think it was that bad at all.
Yeah, I mean...
I think some of the acting was pretty bad.
Oh, yeah.
Aside from, I'd say Cindy Williams was solid throughout. Roddy McDowall is like the typical disciplinarian that, has been in, multiple times. But Mark Hamill was okay in the second half. I didn't like his nerdy first part.
I think everyone in their high school years was over the top, except for Cindy Williams.
Yeah. Because she wasn't given anything to be over top about.
Yeah. Eric Estrada was like trying too hard to be the tough jock guy, and it was not good.
No, it really wasn't. And yeah, he kind of went away from that in the present day scenario, and he became
a little bit, but he was like
trying to be like a lovable loser, and then he was just a loser. Yeah,
he was just a womanizer.
And I think that's supposed to be funny, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
I don't know. I also think I like the acting of Rainbow Harvest as Cindy.
Yeah, she was fine.
She was really giving off like a Winona Ryder vibe.
And that's what I was...
Like with Beetlejuice and talking to ghosts and
stuff.
I even
kind of... I wondered about that. I was just like, did they want Winona Ryder and they just got a look-alike? Because she looks... I mean, she looks
like
a
Winona
lot
Ryder.
like...
She sounds kind of like Winona Ryder.
Right.
And she's now talking to a dead person like Beetlejuice.
Right, and I think they either wanted Winona or a Winona type for this role.
It could be. But we'll see Rainbow Harvest one more time in the 1991 movie Fever. She's also in a 1991 movie called Pink Lightning, which is not on our list because we can't find a way to watch it. This was her last year of acting. Those were the last 3 projects that she ever did. She was on the TV series called FM, which I'm not very familiar with. She was in Mirror Mirror, Streets of Gold, and Old Enough. So she had a very short career. But yeah, I'd say aside from that, the other thing that we haven't really talked about too much is just the soundtrack, because, as the title of the movie implies, you are going to hear that song a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot of 50... It was a lot of 50s, 60s songs. And even the theme for the prom for Cindy, this is supposed to be, 1990, I guess?
Yeah.
It was a 50s theme, and they were playing all 50s, 60s music.
Yeah, I don't know how common it is to have themes at proms in real life, but in,
Mine was time after time, so it was like 80s.
Okay. I don't remember.
We
if
didn't
there was
dress
a
up
theme.
like we were in the 80s, though.
Okay.
I guess you could have, but
I just don't remember. I just know that, like, in TV shows and whatnot, they always talk about the themes
like the
for
theme.
the prom.
Well, we
who
had a
knows?
theme.
But I think this is really, meant to sort of evoke a little bit of a Back to the Future thing.
Oh, okay.
Because, I mean, that's the first time I heard that song.
Yeah.
Was from Back to the Future, Earth Angel. And that was probably, like, my favorite song on the soundtrack. Even with, Huey Lewis and the News' Power of Love in there, I think I probably played Earth Angel more than that. There wasn't a lot of contemporary music in the 1990s section at all.
No.
It was mostly 50s and the 60s. And I think, honestly, this movie is trying to cater to a slightly older audience because of the cast. You have...
Yeah, I was also wondering, like, who was watching this movie? Was it just people who were, like, fans of, like, Star Wars and Laverne and Shirley and Chips or something? And they were like, oh, these 3 actors are in it.
Yeah, I like
I'll
these
watch
people.
it.
I will watch this. That, I think, is exactly the intention here. It's like it's trying to play off nostalgia very heavily because it's a movie about 1962, so just a couple decades prior, with this song from 1954 that was recently in some pop culture just like 5 or 6 years back. And then you have all these stars from the 70s that, these parents would be well aware of, and while their kids are off playing or doing whatever, they can sit at home and watch Earth Angel and revisit people from their past. I think that's really what was meant to be part of the casting decision on this. So yeah, like we said, like Mark Hamill, for instance, he wasn't really doing much of anything aside from the Star Wars films. Obviously, those are enough for people these days. But he didn't really have much of a career until he started doing voice acting a little bit later on, which was weird. Like, he was kind of a has-been for a little bit. You got like Return of the Jedi, and then not a whole lot of anything important until he started doing the voice acting stuff around like 93 when he became the Joker for the first time in the Batman animated series, and he's been doing that forever since, and winning BAFTAs for the Arkham games, playing the Joker. He's also in a couple other 1991 movies. He's in The Guyver, he's in Black Magic Woman, and in 1991, he was also in an episode of the Flash TV series that was out back then. And that was the only other time I had seen him, other than Star Wars, was when he played the Trickster in a couple episodes of The Flash, because my brother watched that. But yeah, he's really well known for his voice acting. And then you have Cindy Williams, who is best known probably for Laverne and Shirley. She has a Golden Globe nominee for that. For that. She has a BAFTA nomination for her work on American Graffiti. So again, another nostalgia piece, a movie from the 70s about the 50s.
Yeah.
She was in The Conversation. In 1991, she'll also be in the movie Bingo, so we'll see her again as well. But after Laverne and Shirley, she hadn't done a whole lot either. She had done some TV around this. So she was in a TV series called Normal Life back in 1990. So basically the year before this. That starred Dweezil and Moon Unit Zappa. It was supposed to be sort of like a TV adaptation of Frank Zappa's home life.
Oh, okay.
Which I didn't know existed, but evidently, yeah. Those two
like
real life
I sort of seen that. I don't know.
children of Frank Zappa were in that show with Cindy Williams. And then in 1993-94, she was also in a TV show called Getting By. And she also auditioned for Princess Leia in Star Wars. So, almost connection between her and Mark Hamill there. We got Eric Estrada, who's known for Chips. Golden Globe nominee for that. He'll be in the 1991 movies Do or Die or Gang Justice. He's done a lot of like movies as himself. Like he's sort of like transitioned his career where he's just like sort of making fun of himself all the time.
Yeah, he's like the Vanilla Ice of the 70s. I have no idea.
Yeah, he's kind of like tried to make himself into a joke and boost his career off of that, which, whatever, if it works, it works. He was also in a Spanish soap opera called, I don't know if it's a soap opera, Spanish series called Two Women, One Road, which lasted 301 episodes, and he was also on C-Lab 2021, which is now in the past, if you can believe that. Sealab 2021 is now a historical event. Who else do we have that was important in terms of history? We have Alan Young, who played the grandfather, Norman. He's probably best known to people of the generation that will be watching this for Mr. Ed. He was Wilbur on Mr. Ed. And there's even like a scene where he's watching Mr. Ed on TV. Mm-hmm. He also had his own radio show by the age of 17, and that transitioned to a TV show called The Alan Young Show. He was an Emmy winner in 1951 for Best Actor and also Most Outstanding Personality. I'm assuming for The Alan Young Show, it doesn't actually say. He's Grammy nominated as well for the Disney's Christmas Carol album, I guess it would be, because he is also known as being the voice of Scrooge McDuck. Who else do we have here? We have Roddy McDowall as another nostalgia pick. Again, he plays disciplinarian here and there. He's well known for the Planet of the Apes series of movies. He's been in Fright Night, for which he won a Saturn Award. He was Emmy nominated for Arrest and Trial. He was an Emmy winner for Sunday Showcase back in 1961. Golden Globe nominee for the movie Cleopatra. He's also a Stinker nominee for the second Jungle Book, which I didn't know was a thing. But he's been acting since the 40s. He was in How Green Was My Valley. And he also shared a voice acting role with, well, not that. He was also in the Batman animated series as the Mad Hatter. So him and Mark Hamill were both on that series as different villains. Garrett Morris is also a nostalgia pick because he was on Saturday Night Live. He was Emmy nominated for that as part of the original cast. Garrett Morris was a nominee for the Spirit Awards for the movie Jackpot. He's going to be in the 1991 movies Children of the Night and Motorama. He was on the Hunter TV show, Cooley High, Car Wash, Martin, Jamie Foxx show, Two Broke Girls, probably most recently. Something I didn't know about him, did you know in 1994 he was shot in the chest and the arm by robbers?
No.
I had no clue about that. I thought I would have heard about that back in the day. We'll probably try to look into that more in a future movie of his. And then also a weird little bit of trivia I wanted to mention is, do you remember, I don't know how much you watched the old SNL original cast, but there was a sketch where they were all superheroes. Like John Belushi was the Hulk and other people were different superheroes.
Okay.
Well, Garrett Morris played Ant-Man in that.
Oh.
Like one of like the lesser known heroes at the time. And then in the Ant-Man movie, he did have a cameo as a cab driver. A couple other small people that we haven't talked about yet. Joe Napolitano as the director. We should probably mention the director and the writer here. This was his feature debut and really one of the few that he has done. We've also seen his work before on this podcast as he was the first assistant director on The Fisher King. But he's mostly done TV work in terms of directing. Did several episodes of Quantum Leap, Northern Exposure, X-Files, JAG, Boston Public. And he's worked with Brian De Palma a few different times as the second unit director on a few of his movies as well. I thought the directing was good in this one. Like, honestly, if you had a more well-known cast and maybe like a slightly tweaked script, I don't see why this shouldn't be a feature film. I don't know. You have this impression of TV movies
there's
as being
a lot
a certain
of
thing.
Stories that are like this, but yeah, this could have been a feature film. I think if you didn't do these 40-year-olds as 18-year-olds.
Yeah. And I mean, maybe part of the problem was that you were limited by this time frame and you had to hit certain commercial breaks at certain times. Right. You had to meet a certain time limit in order to make the story work. And if you didn't have those limitations and could turn it into a feature film, it might have been even better. But I mean, in terms of, the direction, there's like nice movement, there's tracking, there's different camera angles. It's a lot more dynamic than something like the Pam Smart movie that we saw a couple weeks back. Even a lot more dynamic and interesting than Millions in terms of the way it was shot. So, I think you'll see that more in his TV work. Nina Shengold did the writing, did the teleplay, screenplay, whatever you want to call it. She also did an episode of the 1991 show Veronica Claire. I don't remember if we've talked about that show before.
No, I have not.
So we'll come across that at some point.
In the TV guide yet, so...
Apparently it's about a jazz club owner and gumshoe, Veronica Claire, who solves a variety of cases. So it's like
like a V.I. Warshawski.
Something like that, yeah. Probably more period piece. That only lasted 10 episodes. Or she only wrote 10 episodes of that. I don't know which one is true. Anyway, she's also done a bunch of other TV movies. She did Blind Spot, which had Laura Linney in it. She did Unwed Father, which had Brian Austin Green. Double Platinum with Brandy and Diana Ross. And she has a Writers Guild Association win for Labor of Love, which is another TV movie. Who else have we not talked about? Cathy Podewell. Cathy Podewell is Angela. She was in the 1991. She was a 1991 Soap Opera Digest nominee for the lead primetime actress for her work in Dallas. She was JR's trophy wife, Callie Harper Ewing, on Dallas for a couple years. She's also been in movies such as Night of the Demons and Beverly Hills Brats. And she had not done any acting from 1995 until one episode of the 2013 version of Dallas, where she played the same character, Callie Ewing. Peter was played by Dustin Nguyen. He's best known for 21 Jump Street as Officer Harry Truman Aoki, I'm sorry. I messed up. Harry Truman Aoki for 82 episodes. He also does a cameo appearance in 22 Jump Street, the movie, as Vietnamese Jesus. He's also been in Three Ninjas Kick Back, Rapid Fire, which is a Brandon Lee movie, the TV series VIP, which was, Pamela Anderson's thing, and more recently a Cinemax series called Warrior. Mike was played by Brian Krause, or Krause? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if it's said
I'm
the
not
same
sure if
way
it's
as
the same.
Peter.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's the same as Peter Krause or if it's Krause. But anyway, Mike, we will see him 2 more times. He was in the 1991 movie December, and also he has a Razzie nominee for Return to the Blue Lagoon. He's also starred in 4 Bandit TV movies, which is based on the Smokey and the Bandit franchise, just turned into a TV movie series. And he was also in Charmed for 145 episodes as Leo Wyatt. And he's also credited as being in something called Teen Vid 2 in 1991, which is sort of like a VHS magazine, teeny bopper magazine. And we found 1 episode on YouTube, but have not watched the whole thing. So
I remember him in Sleepwalkers. I don't know if you've seen
I don't
Stephen
know
King.
Sleepwalkers.
Oh.
No. 2 other quick notes of people that you would not expect to be in this movie that were in this movie. We have J. Anthony Frank, played a wrestler in one very short moment. He's best known as being Jake Summers in California Dreams. And then also Andy Dick appears in this movie for just a very brief moment. Did you catch him? He's in the 1962 segment.
No, but I saw him in the credits and I couldn't find him, but...
They're walking in the hall, and he runs up and tells Duke what a great job he did on something or other.
Oh, okay.
So he's credited as Brown Noser.
Mm-hmm.
So he has 1 line. He is an MTV nominee for Best Cameo in the movie Road Trip. He's been in Reality Bites, In the Army Now, the Get Smart TV series, The Ben Stiller Show, News Radio is probably his biggest success. He has the Andy Dick Show, Clone High, and then also 81 episodes of Less Than Perfect. So, one of his very early appearances for Andy Dick. So again, a large cast, a good, good swatch of names. Most of them are probably, really trying to hammer in on that nostalgia factor. So, no awards to speak of on this one, so we can just move on to true crime and pop culture.
Okay. There is no true crime. So I think this might be our first Monday release.
It's possible, yeah.
I know we've had Sunday releases and I've talked about what was on TV Monday, but I don't think we've spoken about a Monday release until now. I can't remember anymore.
Yeah,
It's been a year. Nothing happened on March 4th, 1991 besides a bunch of TV movies were on. Nothing happened in the news or anything like that. So on TV, we also have the TV guide, and it shows an ad for Earth Angel.
Yeah, we have a full ad. Oh, you can get the tagline in there.
Yeah, the tagline, which kind of confuses me. I don't know. If you were enchanted by pretty women, if you were charmed by ghosts, you'll fall in love with Earth Angel. I don't get the pretty woman aspect.
I have not seen Pretty Woman yet.
Oh.
I know, yeah. So I don't know.
I think
it's just because it's a romance.
But Okay, you're gonna have to see Pretty Woman because I don't get the comparison.
I don't know.
What else? The other TV listings for March 4th, 1991. So this was an ABC movie, and Earth Angel had 11.2 million viewers that night.
Which sounds middle of the road to me.
Right.
At that time.
Yeah. Before that was MacGyver. And on...
Good lead-in.
Yeah, you had a good hour of MacGyver into a 9 p.m., 8 Central Earth Angel movie. And on CBS was Evening Shade, which I believe we've spoken about Evening Shade before. That's the Burt Reynolds.
Mm-hmm.
And after that was Major Dad, then Murphy Brown, Designing Women, and then a show that was on at 10 p.m. called WIOU, which also is in the TV guide. There's 2 ads, and I read them both, and they're like so ominous. But WIOU is an American drama TV series that was on CBS from October 24th, 1990 until March 20th, 1991. So this is like 3 weeks or 2 more weeks and it was gone. The show is set in the news department of a fictional TV station whose actual call sign is WNDY, like Windy. It doesn't say, I'm assuming, what is this? Maybe it could be Chicago. It doesn't say like where it's set. But they nickname it WIOU by the staff because of the station's financial struggles.
Dumb.
I know. And like the ads are so ominous. It's like we can
make it
skim.
sound like it's they're solving crimes while they're reporting news.
I think they're trying to report the news and then stay afloat somehow. And these ads don't really help it that much. Like one of them just says, "One reporter who won't live to tell them." So it stars John Shea. He's the news director of WNDY. And John Shea plays someone by the name of Hank Zarrett. John Shea is, do you know who he is?
No.
He's mostly known as Lex Luthor in the Lois and Clark 90s Dean Cain show.
Yeah, I didn't watch that.
He's in Gossip Girl, which I know you also didn't. He played Blair's father, and he was also in The Good Wife. So
which I also have not seen.
He's been on a bunch
he's had a good career.
He's still like, he's a TV actor, like a TV character actor. Like if you see his face, you will know who he is. Maybe.
It sounded like it was more of an intense premise based off of the one ad I saw.
Right. It seems very ominous,
that
but
description.
It sounds kind of boring to me.
Yeah. That did not get so good ratings, I'm assuming. You have, what, the 11 point something
I mean,
it
has 8.5 million.
All right.
And then, okay, so that was CBS. So on Fox, there was a movie special, and they were showing Earth Girls Are Easy. So this was in competition with Earth Angel, and 5.5 million people were watching Earth Girls Are Easy. On NBC was an episode of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, then Blossom, and then there was an NBC movie playing the same time as Earth Angel, and we're going to be watching this movie at some point, and it's Hell Hath No Fury. That had more viewers. That was 15.2 million.
Oh, nice. Okay. I mean, it had better lead-ins, probably. I mean, MacGyver is one thing, but, I mean, Fresh Prince and Blossom, that's tough to do.
I mean, the kids are watching that. Yeah.
I don't know if
I don't know if Hell Hath No Fury is...
Blossom,
right. So people were probably like, oh, I'll just leave the TV on.
No, switch over to Designing Women and Murphy Brown at that point.
Mm. Into music. I'm going to do the top 5 this time because I think some of them are kind of new. And then I also have a surprise.
Oh. Is this a surprise about Earth Angel, the actual song?
No. So this is for the week of March 9th, 1991. The number one song of that week on the Billboard 100 was Someday by Mariah Carey. Number 2 is One More Try by Timmy T. Number 3 is All the Man That I Need by Whitney Houston. And number 4 is Where Does My Heart Beat Now by Celine Dion. And then number 5 is Show Me the Way by Styx. I think that one's a newish song.
Yeah, I don't remember the Celine Dion one showing up on the podcast either.
Yes, we got that. And Star Spangled Banner Watch.
Uh-oh.
This is the debut.
Ooh, okay.
This is, so the first week on the charts at number 32 is the Star Spangled Banner by Whitney Houston. So we know the beginning.
Strong start.
So we know the beginning.
We know the beginning now. So now we know. Yeah, anything after March until whenever we saw the 99 is probably the last appearance.
Yeah, and then I'm going to do the... I think I haven't done this in a while, like the top songs in the UK.
Yeah.
But I'm going to do the top 5 songs in the UK because it made me laugh.
Okay.
2 of them I've never even heard of. So number 1 in the UK was The Clash, Should I Stay or Should I Go? Number 2 is... I should have looked this up and I didn't, but we'll have the video once this is out. Is Hale and Pace and the Stonkers, the song called The Stonk. And number 3 was The Simpsons Do the Bartman.
That's weird. I didn't live in the UK back then.
I like everyone in the UK is listening to that. Number 4.
I mean, I had that tape.
Right, I was like, is it like children and adults alike jamming out to the Bartman? Number 4 is Madonna's Crazy for You. And then number 5 is Nomad featuring MC Mikey Freedom, called a song I Want to Give You Devotion, which I should have looked this song up because I don't know it. But if we find the video, we'll have it. I just thought Do the Bartman was interesting.
Yeah. Stonk it up.
And The Stonk, which I have never heard of.
Well, let's go on to rankings and ratings then. On your 1 to 5 star scale, where would you put Earth Angel?
I think I'm just gonna give this a 2.
A 2?
I think I gave Murder in New Hampshire a 3, and I really like that TV movie. I didn't hate this. The only thing that really... It just kind of made me laugh with the, obvious 40-year-olds playing 18-year-olds, and then kind of the whole over-the-top acting of, like, especially Eric Estrada, I don't know.
Yeah.
And, like, other people.
I think the acting
did
it
I liked the movie overall. I didn't hate it.
Me too. I actually kind of liked it quite a bit. Again, I think the acting is really what...
It's a cute movie. I don't know.
What threw it down. Yeah, it was cute. It was better produced than I expected. I thought, like I said, everything seemed to fall into place the way it was supposed to, and it progressed well. I think you have the potential for some depth by basically showing how people stay the same no matter what year it is. Basically you have the exact same story repeating from 1962 to 1990. You have some of that stuff going on in here too. But it doesn't... There's just some stuff that's missing, and it's probably limited because it was a TV movie.
Yeah.
On my 0 to 4 star scale, I'm actually going to give it a 3, which is probably a little bit generous. If you ask me on a different day, I might bump it down a half star, but right now I'm going to say it's a 3 out of 4. Every movie is worth watching once. Would you watch it again?
No. I don't... I mean, there's going to be no way it's ever going to be on again, and I mean, I saw it and I like it, but I wouldn't watch it again.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably the same. There's other time travel / ghost
Yeah, there's so many
stories
like this. Like, I'll just see the better ones, but I don't hate this movie.
Yeah, it's hard to compete against.
glad I watched it, I guess.
I would not choose it over Pretty Woman, which I have not seen, or Ghost,
right,
which I
or
have
Ghost.
seen
I
and
will
liked
watch
more.
Ghost multiple times over than this.
So that's where we stand. If you out there want to watch Earth Angel, as of this recording in January 2022, it's available on Tubi, Pluto TV, IMDb TV, Roku channel, digital rental, VHS, DVD. It is everywhere. Check your local listings. As for us, you can listen to us on all your major podcasting platforms. Please remember to rate, review, subscribe, and tell your friends. It really does help us out a lot. You can email us at 1991movierewind@gmail.com. Of course, you can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Letterboxd. Just search 1991 Movie Rewind or go to 1991movierewind.com for the full list of movies along with show notes and more, along with TV guide scans. Next week, we're going to keep the romantic theme. Maybe. I don't know. I haven't seen this movie. We're going to watch Career Opportunities.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're going to watch Career Opportunities next week. That's available on digital rental, VHS, and DVD. We will see you then.
Thanks.